Hey everyone, and welcome. Today I want to talk about Gerry Mccann in more depth with some info that I found on a private Facebook group and also going through Google and stuff like that. So this is the disclaimer really. The Facebook group that I mainly used for the information is Madeleine Mccann, abduction or scam, and this is actually a private group, so I'm not going to be able to show you the post because it's a private group that I am part of, and if you really want access to it you'll have to join so that you can see the posts, and this is really for privacy reasons. Before we talk about the Facebook posts, let's play a video.
Gerry Mccann and his Portuguese lawyer emerged from the police station where he had been questioned for 8 hours. He looked stunned by the events of the past few days, and it became clear why when his lawyer revealed what had happened inside.
Kate and Gerry Mccann have both been today declared arguido with no bail conditions, and no charges have been brought against them. The investigation continues.
Suspected of killing his daughter and disposing of her body, but neither he nor his wife have been charged with any crime, and though they must both fear what lies ahead, for now they remain free. It was an extraordinary evening in which hundreds of Portuguese citizens, as fascinated by this case as people in Britain and around the world, stood for hours waiting for news. Earlier in the day they'd watched as Kate Mccann left after her second day of intense questioning. At the beginning of the 5-hour interview, she was told she was being designated a suspect.
So yeah, you guys, I'm not sure if you've seen this video before, but this is one of those videos which were kind of recorded at the beginning when Gerry Mccann and Kate Mccann, they were named arguidos or suspects by the Portuguese investigators. And if you remember, at the time they were adamant that they were not suspects, just arguido, which basically really means a suspect. Let's go into Gerry Mccann's history more in depth. I'm not, as I said, again, disclaimer, this is info that I found on this Facebook group and also on Google as well, so I'm not saying is 100% accurate or whatever, you know, just use with caution, if you will. So as the original person who published this on the Facebook group says, they are actually starting with a question if anybody has any information on the genealogy of the parents, Kate Mccann, Gerry Mccann, and if they've done any kind of checks. And there is another person who actually replied with some information, and I found it quite interesting. Again, I'm saying 100%, I'm not sure how accurate it is, okay? Courtesy of my husband, who actually found the info and then he shared it with me, and I said, okay, I need to do a video on this because it's quite interesting. So Gerry Mccann, born in Glasgow 1968, he was Celtic FC Boys Club physiotherapist during the 1990s. He is CATS register system number 19309. Record deleted. So I'm guessing that this poster, he means what we've heard over time, that Gerry Mccann actually had a record to involve some underage allegations of SA, and the record was soon deleted, and that's the registration number. This poster also believes that this is a British authority cover-up, and we've discussed this over a long time here on the channel, and a lot of us will agree with that as well. And he goes on to say whatever was on this record, possibly to do with Celtic FC, led to the recruitment and protection of the Mccanns. Gerry is likely to be an MI5 asset, and he wouldn't have had a choice because they clearly had dirt on him, which was removed from records once the cover-up began. It's not the Mccanns they are protecting, it's everyone and everything else. The behavior of the government and secret services, etc., and in particular the press in the early days, and most importantly before the date she went missing, tells you all you need to know that this was never about some kid going missing. Gerry's actions history suggests otherwise. And I just want to comment something really quickly before we move on to some key points in this comment. As he said here, or she, Gerry is likely to be an MI5 asset, and he wouldn't have had a choice because they clearly had dirt on him. So my opinion on this is kind of split, if you will. Was he, or is he still an MI5 asset, or was Gerry Mccann ever an MI5 asset? He could be, he could have been. However, I don't think that the cover-up of Madeleine Mccann happened just because of Gerry's alleged SA record, which was deleted when the cover-up began, even though they had dirt on him. Because as I said in my previous video, the level of cover-up in this case, I believe, is much more to do with Kate and Gerry Mccann as doctors or as professionals, if you will. I think there are much more higher up interests going on here. And I think that the McCanns, they were just, I don't know how to put this. They were just maybe the people at the time who were there. I really don't know, I'm not sure, but I guess you know what I mean here. And as the poster carries on, it's not the McCanns they are protecting, it's everyone and everything else. So yeah, it kind of ties with what I've just told you. And the behavior of the government and secret services, etc., and in particular the press in the early days, and most importantly before the date Madeleine Mccann went missing, tells you all you need to know, that this is or was never about a child going missing. Gerry's actions history suggests otherwise. So yeah, again, it kind of ties in with what I mentioned to you in my previous video and what I just said as well. However, I still don't think it's about Gerry or Kate Mccann or their history or actions. But that's just my opinion. Now, carrying on with a couple of key points that the poster made. So Madeleine Mccann was discovered missing at 10 p.m. on Thursday, the 3rd of May 2007. We all know that already. He was allegedly, Gerry Mccann was allegedly involved in the Celtic Boys Club PDF ring in the 90s. This resulted in murder plus systematic abuse, jailings, etc. He was a part-time doctor for Celtic at the time, but for the next few years, no one seems quite sure which country he lived in, New Zealand, Scotland, or England. Secret Services arranged for parents' clothing to be washed before being given to Portuguese police. Right, okay. As for the PDF ring in the 90s from Celtic Boys Club, I've read some pieces in different parts of the wide internet and information that you find online, but it's very difficult to kind of set aside what is accurate, what is speculation, what is conspiracy, and so on and so forth. So I don't have much info on that, if I'm honest with you. That's why I don't want to get into it. However, if you guys, any of you, have any info which can be verified in a way, just let me know. Either in the comments, send me an email, whatever, because I'm very interested in this PDF ring from the 90s. But again, not on conspiracies or, you know, speculations and stuff like that. And again, as for where they were living or where he was living, again, there's a lot of conversation happening around this, isn't it? Because they were either in New Zealand, Scotland, England, they went in Europe as well. So again, it's, yeah. Now, what I am not sure if I would say that whatever is written in this comment is indeed true. I don't think I've ever heard of secret services arranging for Kate and Gerry Mccann's clothing to be washed before being given to the Portuguese police. I know that they have washed the clothing, but I wasn't aware that it was arranged by secret services. So again, caution when using this information, because I can't really say how accurate it is. Then parents were told to refuse to hand over their phone records. When they eventually agreed, the records were redacted. Now, I'm not sure if the records were redacted when they were handed over to police, or is it just that the records are redacted in the public files, in the PJ files, so which is accessible to everyone. So again, I'm not sure about this. Secret Services went through all their holiday photos, and almost all were removed before being given to the Portuguese police. Holiday photos were taken in color and handed to the police in black and white, making it harder to make out who's who. Now, I know this to be true because if I remember well, even Gonzalo Amaral was saying in his book that this is how they received the photos, so perhaps even the phone records could have been given redacted to them. And then this would beg the question, if Secret Services were indeed involved, for what purpose? Because surely they couldn't have gotten involved just for a pair of parents, doctors from the UK. In all honesty, come on. Gerry is or has been friends or associates with many believed PDFs at a high level. Clement Freud, his son, possibly one of the guys with them on holiday, who was being watched by Leicestershire police and social services. Also, David Payne. Now, if you think about PDFs at high level, this can be credible because we know that there are so many alleged PDFs, part of the elite and high level, and so on and so forth, which are covered up really. And that's why it's almost impossible to get those at high levels because of the cover-up and involvement of higher forces. And moving to Kate Mccann's now, Kate Mccann's autobiography, which we all know about, contains the astonishing admission that Gerry kept having nightmares about Maddie's perfect genitalia being ripped apart. As a parent, which of us would use a phrase like this without even knowing why she was taken or what happened to her? I 100% agree. Not only that, but also using this kind of phrasing in a book which is meant to be for Madeleine Mccann, because remember what Kate said from the beginning, she did this book for when they find Madeleine Mccann, so that she knows what was going on, and this book was also for the twins as well, for when they grow up. How can the twins be reading this in a book about Madeleine Mccann, coming from a parent? It's just not, it just doesn't sit right with me, and I'm sure it doesn't sit right with a lot of you. Plus, on the other hand, I would think, but this is just my opinion, of course, because everybody reacts differently, or everyone would react differently in different situations, right? But as a parent, I'm not sure that you would think of all the negatives and the most horrible ones to begin with when it comes to missing child. I mean, again, I wasn't in a situation like this, so I can't say for sure. But it seems kind of weird that you are jumping straight to that conclusion. I don't know. What do you guys think? There was a crisis meeting at the Warner Resort in the week beforehand, in the week before Madeleine went missing, by a top-level PR crisis management organization called Resonate from the UK. Most of its top people were still there on 3rd of May. Now, this is very interesting to me. Kind of rings a bell from one of my previous videos I did when I was talking about Guango Komari, if you remember, guys. And as I said, that it just seemed strange that a group of doctors, they would go holidaying together out of season, right in the same spot where there would be booked a conference room right for that time, and also there was a conference at the time, a medical conference at the time, and one of the group members, they were actually seen in a photo attending that conference. And now we also have the information here that there was a meeting at the Warner Resort before Madeleine Mccann went missing by a top-level PR crisis management organization from the UK called Resonate. And the people at the top were still there at the resort on 3rd of May 2007. And now I want to have a look at this Resonate PR. Let's see if that company is still functional. No, it's actually too difficult to find by this name. No, there are too many names, which it's very hard to actually find out if it was exactly the one which this poster mentioned. So anyway, moving on to the next bit of info, Robert Murat, formerly an arguido in the case, was in England until 1st of May. We know this already. He had received a phone call the previous night from a well-known Sky News executive telling him to fly out to Praia da Luz ASAP. This was the testimony of his then girlfriend who answered the call, hence knew who called him. Robert Murat was later paid £600,000 for his trouble from the McCann's donation fund. There you go. Murat and McCann's phones were apparently switched off from 2:44 p.m. on May the 2nd until 11:44 p.m. on May the 3rd, the night of Madeleine's disappearance. This has never been explained. There is an interview with Gerry where he refuses to deny he already knew Murat before this all happened. And we remember that very short interview. Seen it before, even I played it to you before. The Telegraph printed a 4-paragraph story on its website by 12:01 a.m. that night, and I showed you the screenshot of that at 12:01, and even this poster is asking the same question. How could they possibly have done this? How could they know within less than 2 hours when a kid has disappeared in the middle of nowhere? This is perhaps the most damning thing of all. Completely unprecedented. And there are a lot of questions surrounding the Madeleine McCann's disappearance and so many weird things. And if I go through the replies from this comment, there is somebody saying that Robert Murat wasn't paid from Madeleine McCann's fund, unlike the user said, the poster said. Somebody else in this group is saying that, as far as they are aware, Gerry's family came over to Glasgow before Gerry was born. And possibly the other siblings were born in Ireland. And they used to visit Dongal, if that's the right pronunciation. There is another user asking and wondering what the connection is. And there is another comment here saying that Christopher McCann was a passenger on a yacht which arrived on 14th of April and left on 3rd of May 2007 from Algarve, Portugal. Perhaps Madeleine was smuggled onto it as well? Christopher McCann, is that Gerry Mccann's brother? He might not be though. And according to an article, Christopher McCann, he's a Commonwealth bank executive who allegedly procured underage children for sex. And this guy, he was found dead after he appeared in court, and this is an article from 2025. Is it? Probably. This is from a post on X on Twitter. There is also conversation about a pub which was apparently in Ireland, this pub. And there is conversation also that perhaps the family had a pub there in Ireland. And some more info saying that Crawley girl, Eileen Ferry, married Johnny McCann and they lived in St. Johnstone and ran McCann's bar on the main street. They had 4 children in Ireland. It came to pass that the couple uprooted and went to Scotland permanently in 1967. Gerry Mccann was born in Glasgow, Scotland the very next year. The pub, of course, still needed running, so the reins were passed on to Johnny's brother, Huggy. Sometime around 1980s, Joe Peoples became new manager of the bar upon leasing it from the McCanns. Madeleine and her parents visited this pub in 2007. Joe said in the aftermath of the disappearance of Madeleine, she was just running around all over the bar having a great time up to all sorts. So this is from Joe. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure. Did you guys read about this? Did you guys hear about this? Do you have any more info? It's very hard, like with everything in this case, it's very hard to kind of make the difference between what information is reliable and accurate and what is just speculation or, as I said, conspiracy theory and stuff like that. But I guess that any kind of conspiracy theory, in my opinion anyway, comes from a seed of truth. And since we've been talking about these people who were in Praia da Luz at the time of Madeleine's disappearance, I want to read to you a list of people who rushed out to Praia da Luz on between the 4th of May and 11th of May 2007. So, we've got government and embassy officials. Robert Henderson, he was the British consul for the Algarve. He persuaded Portuguese police to allow the McCanns to wash the clothing before seizing them. John Buck, the British ambassador to Portugal, arrived immediately in Lisbon. Angela Morado, British proconsul, arrived immediately in Praia da Luz in the Algarve. Liz Dow, British consul from the embassy in Lisbon, arrived immediately. Andy Bowes, British embassy press officer, also arrived immediately. Sherry Dodd, Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and then other staff from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Then we've got British police officers. Glenn Power, British Police Liaison Officer for Portugal, arrived on the 5th of May. An analyst, who is unnamed, from the National Policing Improvements Agency, arrived on the 4th of May. Detective Chief Superintendent Bob Small, Leicestershire Police, arrived on the 4th of May. Two other police family liaison officers from Leicestershire Police arrived on the 4th of May. Yeah, let me carry on. Government security and Secret Service personnel. Staff from MI5 who are unnamed. Staff from Child Exploitation and Online Protection Service, unnamed. Kate McCann in her book describes them as forensic psychologists. They arrived on 4th of May. More staff from CEOP, the director of the Forensic Psychology Unit, and a CEOP social worker arrived on the 6th of May. Staff from Special Branch, again unnamed. Criminal profilers, again unnamed, attached to unnamed government security departments. Government-funded private security firms. Kenneth Farrow from Control Risks Group. Michael Keenan from Control Risks Group. Staff from government-supported private crisis psychology group. Ellen Pike, head of Yorkshire-based Centre for Crisis Psychology, CCP, arrived on 4th of May. Then Martin Alderton, colleague of Ellen Pike from CCP, arrived on the 5th of May. Public Relations Consultants. Michael Frofick, head of Resonate. Resonate, yes, we've said about Resonate. Subsidiary of international PR company Bell Pottinger, already there by Monday 30th of April. So yeah, this is the resonating subsidiary from international PR company Bell Pottinger. I've mentioned this already in my previous videos. So they're already there by Monday 30th of April. And now if we are to be going back to the post, there was a mention of a lot of people arriving right before 3rd of May. Because there was a crisis meeting. Remember, there was a crisis meeting at the Warner Resort in the week beforehand by the top level PR crisis management organization called Resonate from the UK. And these people, they were still there on the 3rd of May, okay? So they arrived a week beforehand, which makes sense and kind of coincides with the other information from here, from the company Bell Pottinger, who were already there by Monday 30th of April. And then we also have Trisha Moon, Deputy Director of Resonate, who was already there by Monday 30th of April. Alex Wolfall, Head of Risks for international PR company Bell Pottinger, arrived on the 4th of May, who helped to edit Gerry Mccann's photos before putting them on a disc for the PJ, for the Portuguese police. So, what were those people doing 1 week before Madeleine went missing there? And how come they were there when Madeleine Mccann went missing, and then they got involved with the Madeleine McCann's disappearance, in the sense that they were public relations consultants and they were there in support of the McCanns after Madeleine Mccann went missing? Isn't that a bit weird? Isn't that a coincidence? And if you remember, I spoke before in one of my other videos about the conference room at the resort already being booked because there was a meeting there. And I think this is the meeting. And then, why was a meeting there before Madeleine Mccann went missing? Unless, I don't think I need to tell you, unless there was, in my opinion, a plan put in place before they even released that Madeleine Mccann allegedly went missing. It's interesting, isn't it? Moving on. Then, other people who rushed out to Praia da Luz. Now, we are going to the lawyers list. We've got staff from the recently formed International Family Law Group, IFLG. Michael Nichols, barrister, he arrived on the 11th of May, accompanied by a paralegal from Leicestershire who arrived on the 11th of May. There are also references to other government lawyers having arrived. Top staff from Mark Warner company that organized the holiday. David Hopkins, he was the managing director of Mark Warner and one of his senior colleagues. Then, interpreters. Robert Murat, he became the initial main interpreter for the Portuguese police on 4th of May. He had already flown out from England on 1st of May. He was recommended by British Consul Robert Henderson. Then, moving on to religious organizations. Reverend Haynes and Susan Hubbard mysteriously arrived in Praia da Luz from Canada, on Sunday, 6th of May, to take up an appointment as the Anglican minister in Praia da Luz. The Hubbards rapidly became very close friends of the McCanns. Other people as well. Hugh, Kate in her book says that he would only identify himself as Hugh. He was brought in by Control Risks Group and said he was a former intelligence officer, now a kidnap negotiator and counselor. He attended meeting with the lawyers from IFLG. In other words, IFLG being staff from the recently formed International Family Law Group. Then, other people, other appointments. Clarence Mitchell, of course, head of the government's media monitoring unit. According to the reply to a Freedom of Information request, he was appointed on Sunday, 6th of May, to head up the government's PR support for the McCanns. But he didn't travel to Portugal until 22nd of May 2007. The government set up a very high-powered liaison committee on Tuesday, 8th of May, under the chairmanship of Matt Baggett, Leicestershire Police Chief Constable. It consisted of representatives from a wide variety of government departments and agencies. The government has refused to answer a Freedom of Information Act request questions about who those agencies were. Government ministers Gordon Brown, Chancellor of the Exchequer, and Margaret Beckett, Foreign Secretary, spoke to Gerry Mccann in the first week Tony Blair, Prime Minister, did so later. And then literally hundreds of international journalists. This is the list, guys, okay? And it seems that this is from the screenshot that I have here. It seems that this is the courtesy of Complete Mystery of Madeleine Mccann, which I assume it's another Facebook group. No, from Jill Haven Forum, yeah. But I think that the Complete Mystery of Madeleine Mccann is actually a Facebook group, which I'm also part of. I'm a part of so many Facebook groups because of my research, so it's hard to remember the name of all. And now the following is courtesy of Lizzie Idaho Taylor. It seems that this is an article which is from Sunday Express from the 2nd of December 2007, but this one was deleted really quickly. So the article is titled Gerry and Friend Face Quiz on Mystery Call from the paper edition. Transcription of the articles in the Sunday Express to 2nd of December 2007. With many thanks to a certain person for typing this up. Again, because this is a private Facebook group which I'm part of, I can't really give you the names unless of course you join the group and then you have access to it as well. Madeleine Mccann abduction or scam. A close friend of Kate and Gerry Mccann, who was holidaying with them when Madeleine vanished, will be questioned by Portuguese police this week over a mystery phone call. Dr. Russell O'Brien, who was 36 years old at the time, has come under investigation after a team of telephone surveillance officers highlighted a mobile phone call made to the missing 4-year-old's father just over a month after she disappeared. Portuguese detectives now believe that the phone call between Gerry Mccann and Dr. O'Brien is the missing link in Madeleine's disappearance and could help find her body. Investigators are focusing on the exact whereabouts of Dr. O'Brien when the call was made on June the 10th. Last night it was unclear exactly what was said during the debated call, but it's understood that key words aroused police suspicions. The development is a massive blow to the Mccanns, who had been led to believe they would be cleared of any involvement in their daughter's alleged death by Christmas. A team of senior detectives are to fly to Britain after gaining official permission to re-interview certain members of the group, including Dr. O'Brien. He has taken advice from a lawyer recommended by the Mccann legal team. How interesting is this? So if you are just a witness, why would you seek legal advice? Just a question I have, really. The Sunday Express learned Mr. Mccann told police the call, 38 days after Madeleine vanished, was made within 4 kilometers of the Mark Warner Resort in Praia da Luz, where the party were staying, but technicians working on the mobile phone network dismissed his claim after examining records. Mr. Mccann, why would you lie? Unless there's something else going on there. It has also emerged that each member of the Tapas 9 was placed under surveillance after British communications experts arrived in the Algarve at the end of May. A close friend of the group told how just weeks after Maddie went missing, her parents and their friends had grown concerned they were being closely watched by Portuguese police. Now, considering the fact that I myself was involved in a police investigation at some point, I'm not going to say why or, whatever, any more details. If you're not hiding anything, then even if you would know you are being watched, you shouldn't be concerned. Or, you shouldn't be concerned that you are being watched if you've got nothing to hide. He said, although they never officially thought they were under surveillance, Kate and Gerry were always cautious when making calls because they knew it was possible that somebody could be listening in. And again, I'm asking, if you have nothing to hide, why would you even be cautious? With what? If you've got nothing to hide, right? They can surveil you and listen to you however much they want if there's nothing there for them to find. They were concerned, so the Mccanns were concerned that their phones could have been tapped or that the electronic traffic between them and their friends was being recorded. Again, I have the same question. What do you guys think? Kate and Gerry, who were both 39 years old at the time, were named as Arguido's former suspects in their daughter's disappearance on September the 9th. They have not been charged, but police let it be known that they had evidence to indicate that Madeleine accidentally died in apartment 5A and her body was hidden for weeks before being moved in the boot of a Renault Scenic the family hired 25 days later. British experts attempted to trace the movements of Maddie's abductor by following a trail left by mobile telephone signals. The technique helped convict Ian Huntley for the murders of Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman in Soham, Cambridgeshire in 2002. Trails are created by silent transmissions sent by mobile phones even when not in use. This creates a timed computer log of the handset's movement, which can narrow down its location to an area as small as a few square yards. Police analysts examining records of mobile phones belonging to the McCanns and their holiday group returned their findings to Portuguese prosecutors last week. Detectives used the detailed information to test statements by guests and staff at the Ocean Club complex. Last week, Portuguese officers arrived in Britain to talk to Leicestershire police and British forensic experts about the implications of DNA results from tests at the Forensic Science Services base in Birmingham. Friends of the McCanns thought the summit indicated Madeleine's parents would be cleared as suspects after DNA evidence against them appeared to collapse. But last night it was clear there are still doubts about contradictions in the statements the group gave to police. Both Kate and Gerry Mccann deny any involvement with Madeleine's disappearance, but police still maintain the case against them does not rely on DNA results. Dr. O'Brien could also be named as an Arguido. Last night a friend said, if he faces a situation where the Arguido status becomes an issue, it allows certain rights, like the right to have a lawyer present and the right to remain silent. Now, hunt centers on disused barn. The hunt for Madeleine Mccann last night centered on a disused barn near Praia da Luz, where police found a towel stained with what may turn out to be the little girl's blood. Fibers found on the towel allegedly match fibers from the hired car rented by Maddie's parents, Kate and Gerry Mccann. Portuguese detectives discussed the breakthrough when they met British police and the Crown Prosecution Service official last week at a police station in Leicester. Today, for the first time, the Sunday Express can shed light on the new avenue police are pursuing in the hope of a breakthrough in the baffling case. Based on fresh information from mobile phone surveillance, police began a search of an area in the southeast of the resort. They came across a towel with an Aztec design near a disused barn in a remote area close to Praia da Luz. Portuguese sources say forensic scientists used a substance called luminol to look for blood deposits and found 3 sites on the edges of the towel. They tested the blood deposits to see if there was a match for Madeleine's DNA. Although the samples were not good quality, the scientists were able to do what is called low copy analysis, which showed there was moderate support to suggest the blood deposits matched Madeleine's blood. The results were not conclusive, are not regarded as being strong enough to be presented as evidence in any court case. However, is still evidence for us that the same blanket which was in the boot of the car that the McCanns rented contained what appears to be Madeleine McCann's blood. They also found a loaf and a carrier bag which produced no significant information, but close analysis of the towel revealed fibers which were not made of the towel material. The fiber fragments were microscopically examined against fibers found in the boot of the Renault Scenic hired by the McCanns 25 days after Maddie disappeared. Portuguese police said there was strong support that the fibers found on the towel matched fibers from the boot of the car. One possibility being considered by the Portuguese detectives was that the towel had at some point been in the boot of the Renault Scenic, which would explain how fibers had got on it. So we are still at the article from the 7th of December 2007. Yesterday, Portuguese newspaper Correio da Manhã reported that the mobile phone data was top of the agenda when a Portuguese team of police and forensic experts met their British counterparts in Leicester last week. The report said, quote, "The records of the McCann's telephone calls on days before and after the disappearance were discussed," end quote. Former Surrey police detective Mark Williams Thomas said the mobile phone data was one of 3 key issues discovered during the summit, along with DNA evidence and the new interrogations. Police are hoping it will provide a breakthrough after months of DNA analysis in Britain have so far proved inconclusive. Mr. William Thomas, a child protection expert who has followed the case closely, said, quote, "The mobile phone data was secured by British experts in the 10 days after Madeleine disappeared. Although initially not analyzed, it has now been and will provide vital information," end quote. The team of experts are believed to have included technicians who helped nail Soham killer Ian Huntley. They can help check alibis and the movements of suspects by tracking silent signals from handsets to mobile phone masts, and they can pinpoint locations to within a few feet. But Mr. Williams Thomas warned the data will not be as precise as it is in the UK because masts are further apart. Last night, the McCann's official spokesman, Clarence Mitchell, declined to comment on the reports. The development comes as it emerged yesterday that the McCanns were named official suspects just 8 days before new laws were introduced in Portugal, which would have made it impossible for them to be declared suspects. Under the law introduced on September 15th, police have to provide evidence to a judge showing there is a case to be answered. But previously, detectives only needed to have suspicions that the person was involved in a crime. I think that this is a very interesting article from Sunday Express. And thank God for these Facebook groups and for these people who keep screenshots and stuff, or screenshots or downloads or pictures of articles or whatever they find before they actually disappear, because now we have access to something which vanished. So yeah, this is very interesting, and it kind of goes to show that there was still evidence, much more than just allegations and suspicions, really, which kind of goes to show that, in my opinion, could be a confirmation of a cover-up, really. And now I want to play you a video which I found with Gerry Mccann and his opinion on theses or theories and so on and so forth. And let me tell you, I've already watched this video before I'm gonna play it to you, and he's just so arrogant, and he's just so, it doesn't really seem like this would be coming from a parent of a missing child, really. Let's play it.
I think you've heard a lot about Mr. Amaral's thesis that Madeleine is dead, and I hope you've also heard that there is absolutely no evidence to support that thesis. A thesis without evidence is meaningless.
So what do you guys think? I think it's just incredible, his reaction and his comments. It certainly doesn't sound like it comes from somebody whose main worry is the disappearance of their daughter, in my opinion. And now, can we please talk about the dogs again, please? Because I found some other info on here, which I want to go through with you. So this is from 16th of September 2007. And this is from the website dogsdon'tlie.com. And let's see. Kate and Gerry Mccann's legal team have consulted the lawyers of an American man accused of murdering his estranged wife in a case where cadaver dog evidence was key, a source said today. 2 British sniffer dogs, one capable of detecting blood and human remains, were brought to Portugal in early August. The cadaver dog picked up a scent of death on everything from McCann's clothes to missing Madeleine's favorite soft toy cuddle cat, according to reports. During police interviews, the McCanns were shown a video of the animal going crazy when it approached their Renault Scenic hire car, newspapers have claimed. Leaked reports from the investigation have suggested Madeleine's parents could have accidentally killed her and then disposed of her body using the car. Although they don't know the full details of Portuguese prosecutors' case against them, the Mccanns are concerned it may rest on the dog's reaction. They want to highlight the judge's dismissal of cadaver dog evidence in the high-profile Eugene Zapata murder trial in Madison, Wisconsin. The couple's lawyers have already contacted Zapata's defense team, who are now sending their large files on the matter to Britain. Zapata's estranged wife, flight instructor Janet Zapata, was 37 years old when she vanished on 11th of October 1976 after seeing her 3 children off to school. Her body has never been found. Detectives suspected Zapata of involvement in her disappearance, but didn't charge him because of a lack of evidence. Police decided to conduct new searches using cadaver dogs, a new investigative technique, when an old friend of Mrs. Zapata contacted them about the case in 2004. Zapata, 68 years old, was charged with first-degree murder last year after the dogs indicated they sniffed human remains in a small basement crawl space at the former family home in Madison and other properties linked to him. But Dane County Judge Patrick Fiedler ruled last month that the evidence that led to the charge could not be put before the jury. He said the dogs were too unreliable in detecting the odor of remains and noted that no remains were actually found. The judge agreed with an analysis of the 3 dogs' track record by Zapata's defense team that found they were incorrect 78%, 71%, and 62% of the time. According to the Wisconsin State Journal, Mr. Fiedler told the court, "The state has failed to convince me that it's any more reliable than the flip of a coin." Zapata denies murder, and the jury in the case went out on Friday to start considering its verdict. Sources close to the Mccann solicitors said the legal team are in touch with the lawyers who represented the defendants in the case. The court papers giving the legal submissions are on their way to the Mccann team for consideration. At the moment, there are no formal charges, and therefore there is no formal allegation against which the Mccann team can work. We are having to work a little bit in the dark. But given that we understand the central plank of what the police are alleging involves sniffer dogs, albeit British ones which are said to be particularly good, this is important and relevant and will be raised with the police and brought to the judge's attention. And lastly, it turns out that Mr. Zapata eventually pleaded guilty to killing his wife in February 19, 2008. So, as it turns out, even though these dogs, as they say, they are incorrect 78, 68, and 62% of the time, they could still sniff human remains being in the basement, which ultimately led to Mr. Zapata confessing, which means that the dogs were correct. Voila! One question which lingered when I was going through this, when I was reading this to you guys, was how much effort are the Mccanns and their legal team putting into discrediting any kind of evidence that could lead to actually finding out the truth as to what happened to Madeleine Mccann? And the only reasonable explanation would be that they indeed know what happened to Madeleine Mccann, and they are trying to discredit everything and everyone because they know the truth. And perhaps anybody who kind of gets close enough needs to be somehow silenced or discredited or whatever. This is what it seems to me. I do have 3 more stuff that I want to talk about, but considering this is already a very long video, I'm going to end this today and I'll cover the rest in the next video. Some interesting stuff I have for you in the next one as well. We are going to be watching another video, or actually listening to a radio interview with Gerry Mccann, which is another interesting one. We are going to be watching another video, and then yeah, this is the best one. I'm gonna leave the best to the last. The pearls of everybody involved in Madeleine's disappearance case. example, Gerry Mccann, Kate McCann, Clarence Mitchell. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one as well, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm hoping it will be out before Christmas. However, if not, I just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now. Take care.